Hello viewers, yes, this is Ranjana ma'am and you're watching Yes. It's mine as well as your channel. So after a long wait, finally I'm back. So it's Macbeth Act 4 Scene 3. This is quite an important scene and naturally I would like to do it in two parts. Part 1 and Part 2. So in this scene we find Macduff. Macduff, remember, he has escaped from Scotland and come to England to take back the rightful heir to the throne of Scotland. And who else is he but Malcolm? But Malcolm initially doesn't accept Macduff because he has his suspicions. He feels that Macduff might have been sent by Macbeth to somehow persuade him to come to Scotland so that Macbeth can get a hold on Malcolm and get him imprisoned or kill him. So initially we find Malcolm tries to test Macduff and finally he realizes that no, this person is sincere, his loyalty towards Scotland is genuine, and then he opens up. So Macduff, when he comes to meet Malcolm, he is not aware of the tragedy that has taken place in his house, in his palace, his wife and children killed. So Macduff, what does he do? He tells Malcolm that you are the real successor to the throne of Scotland. So you should, like a brave person, stand up and fight for your rights. And he also reports that Scotland is in a very bad condition. Every day new widows, there are new widows. That means every day some or the other people are getting killed. Why? Because of the tyrant. Macbeth is a tyrant, and on account of his tyranny every day new widows howl. So he is unaware that his own family has also been badly slaughtered or butchered by Macbeth. So these when he talks that every day new widows howl and all that, so they reflect Macduff's emotional nature. So however much he tries to persuade, he tries to persuade Malcolm to come back to Scotland, Malcolm is quite reticent and he is not really in the mood to welcome Macduff, as I said, wholeheartedly. So now let's go back to the text. I gave you a summary of the, rather I wouldn't say summary, an introduction to the scene. So what are we to expect? Macduff coming and trying to convince Malcolm to go back to England and fight for his rights. And then what happens? Ross comes. Ross is related to Macduff's wife. So Ross comes and through him Macduff comes to know of the dire tragedy that has taken place in his family. And after that Malcolm tells him how the King of England has agreed to help him, and it ends in a hopeful note. So good news and bad news both. So Malcolm, let us seek out some desolate shade and there weep our sad bosoms empty. So Malcolm tells Macduff that let us find a shade, desolate shade, that means a lonely spot, and then weep our hearts out, that means all the sorrows that are pent up in our heart, let's weep them out. So what does Macduff say? Let us rather hold fast the mortal sword, and like good men bestride our downfall birthdom. Each new morn, new widows howl, new orphans cry, new sorrows strike heaven on the face, that it resounds as if it felt with Scotland and yelled out like syllable of dolor. So Macduff is trying to make Malcolm aware of his motherland. So he tells, instead of weeping our hearts out, let us take our swords and like brave heroes let us defend our fallen land. That means our native land. Our land is in a state of misery, so let us go and try to defend it. And what is the condition of Scotland? He says that every morning new widows they cry out at the loss of their husbands, new children become orphan and they cry out. And why do they cry out? Because of their loss. The orphans have lost their father or mother or both. The widows have lost their husbands. So every morning the cry of people seems to reach heaven, so much so that it echoes and comes back to the very origin of pain, as if the heavens were also in sympathy with Scotland in her sadness. What I believe, I'll win. What no, believe, and what I can redress, as I shall find the time to friend. I will. What you have spoke, it may be perchance this tyrant whose sole name blisters our tongue was once thought honest. You have loved him well, he hath not touched you yet. I am young, but something you may deserve of him through me, and wisdom to offer up a weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease an angry God. So Malcolm shows his prudence, his wisdom here. So he says, I will feel sad for those sorrows that I believe have taken place. Yeah, he is in England, so he is not aware of what is happening. So he says that I will grieve for those sorrows which I believe to have taken place. And what I believe, I should know it for certain. Unless I know something for certain, I will not believe it. And I will try to reform the evils when I find the time in my favor. And then says, what you have said, maybe it is true. This tyrant whose name scorches or burns our tongue, the uttering of the very name of this tyrant, that means uttering the name of Macbeth, scorches or burns our tongues. But at one time he was also considered honest. Even you loved him well. He is telling Macduff, even you loved him well. And he has not harmed you as yet. So through this, what is he trying to tell? He is trying to tell Macduff that I don't trust you. Why haven't you been harmed? So I'm young. I'm a novice. I have no experience. So you may, in trying to win favor from Macbeth, might betray me. So it is supposed to be a wisdom to sacrifice someone innocent like me to appease an angry God. Who is the angry God referred to here? It is Macbeth. The angry God referred to here is none other than Macbeth. To appease him, you might offer me as a sacrifice, like an innocent lamb. So this is an insult for Macduff, who has left his wife and children for the sake of Scotland, and to be suspected. So what does he say? I am not treacherous. So I am not a traitor. So Malcolm, but Macbeth is. A good and virtuous nature may recoil in an imperial charge, but I shall crave your pardon. That which you are, my thoughts cannot transpose. Angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. Though all things foul would wear the brows of grace, yet grace must still look so. So Malcolm, when Macduff very boldly says that I am not a traitor, so Malcolm says, you are not a traitor, but Macbeth is a traitor. So a good person or a virtuous person might be forced to do something evil when he is ordered by the king, but I will beg your forgiveness. What you really are, just because I suspect you, you cannot change. You will remain the honest person. If you are honest, you will remain the honest person in spite of my suspicions. Angels are still thought to be glorious, though the brightest angel, who was the brightest angel? Lucifer. He was the head of the angels and he conspired against God. And in the battle that took place between the God and his good angels and Lucifer and his wicked angels, so the wicked group, they lost, and then God angrily sent them to hell, and he told Lucifer that you wanted to be the king, so be the king of hell. So Lucifer was second in command. After God, he was the most powerful. Among the angels, he was the leader. But he became greedy, he wanted more power, and then that is his downfall came. But just because the brightest angel fell doesn't mean that other angels who are good angels are not glorious. So he says, even if all evil things, they try to appear virtuous or put up an appearance of virtue, but virtue will always remain in its own form. You will be able to identify virtue. It will still remain in its grace. Macduff, I have lost my hopes. So Macduff is disappointed. Perchance, even there where I did find my doubts, why in that rawness left you wife and child? Those precious motives, those strong knots of love, with leave taking? I pray you, let not my jealousies be your dishonors, but mine own safeties. You may be rightly just, whatever I shall think. So Malcolm again points out a very vital fact why he suspects Macduff. So he says, you have said you have lost your hopes, but maybe that very action which has made me suspicious of you. So why did you abandon your wife and children with whom you are tied to with devotion and love? So why did you leave them in such a helpless situation without even leave taking? So I just request you, see my suspicions. They are not to discredit you. I am not trying to discredit you with my suspicions. I am just trying to ensure my own safety. And whatever I may think, you may be really honest, you may be really authentic, you might be a genuine person in spite of whatever I think of you. Macduff, bleed, bleed, poor country, great tyranny, lay thou thy bases sure, for goodness dare not check thee. Wear thou thy wrongs, the title is afeard. Fare thee well, my lord. So Macduff is disappointed that I had come to take this person back to his own country and try to see that he gets back his kingdom. But he suspects me, so what's the use? So he says, my country, the time has not come for you to be saved, so keep on bleeding. And then he says, this great tyrant, establish yourself firmly because good people are afraid of opposing you. Macbeth, establish yourself more strongly. Why? Because good people are afraid to face you, to oppose you. So yes, enjoy the fruits of your crime, keep on doing more crime. Your kingship confirmed because the heir to the throne doesn't wish to come back to Scotland. And then he bids farewell to Malcolm. Now Malcolm, I would not be the villain that thou thinkest for the whole space that is in the tyrant's grasp, and the rich east to boost. So before leaving, this is the parting message he gives to Malcolm, that Whatever Macbeth has in the clutches of his hand, along with all the riches of the world, they cannot tempt me to be the villain that you think me to be. You may think me to be a traitor, a villain, someone who has been offered money and I'm carrying out this, trying to convince you to return to Scotland and offer you to Macbeth, but I am not that villain which you think me to be. Even if Macbeth were to offer me all his riches and all the riches of the East and all the land which is in Macbeth's grasp, even if they were offered to me, I would not be the villain. Now Malcolm is convinced. So what does he say? Be not offended. I speak not as in absolute fear of you. I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. I think withal there would be hands uplifted in my right, and here from gracious England have I offer of goodly thousands. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head, or wear it on my sword, yet my poor country shall have more vices than it had before, more suffer and more sundry ways than ever by him that shall succeed. So now Malcolm tries a different way. He projects himself as a wicked person, which he is not. So he tries to test Macduff. So he says, please don't get angry. I'm speaking in this way not because I suspect you. I understand that our country is being burdened by tyranny. So my country is a weeping and bleeding country, and every day a fresh wound is added to her injuries. But I think there are people who will support me, who will uphold my right. And the noble King of England also has offered me several thousand soldiers. But in spite of all this, when I have killed the tyrant and trampled his head, or have his head on my sword, but my poor country will have someone more evil than he. It might face more evil than in Macbeth's time. So what is he hinting himself? Because of him who will succeed Macbeth, the country might suffer more and more in different ways than ever before. So Macduff is puzzled. What is Malcolm talking about? So he says, what should he be? So what type of person could he be? It is myself, I mean, in whom I know all the particulars of vice so grafted that when they shall be opened, black Macbeth will seem as pure as snow, and the poor state esteem him as a lamb, being compared with my confineless harms. So as I told you, he is trying to test Macduff. So he says, I am talking of myself, and in my knowledge I am full of the vices and evils. It has taken root in me, and when these wickedness and evils are exposed, then Macbeth will be considered as pure and spotless as snow. And then the poor country will think that in comparison to me, Macbeth is nothing but an innocent lamb. When my vices will be exposed, when my vices will come to light, they will think, oh my God, Macbeth was nothing in comparison to him. Macbeth was as pure as snow in comparison to Malcolm. So, Macduff, not in the legions of horrid hell can come a devil more damned in evils to top Macbeth. So, Macduff cannot believe it. So, he says, no, you won't find even in hell such a wicked person as Macbeth. Malcolm, I grant him bloody, luxurious, avaricious, false, deceitful, sudden, malicious, smacking of every sin that has a name. But there is no bottom, none, in my voluptuousness. Your wives, your daughters, your matrons, your maids could not fill up the cistern of my lust. And my desire all continent, impediment would overbear that did oppose my will. better Macbeth than such an one to reign. So if he had really been wicked, would he have spoken so openly about his vices? No. He would have tried to hide his vices. But he is talking in this way, that only should make Macduff suspicious. But Macduff believes him. So Malcolm says that I accept. Macbeth is murderous, he is lusty, he is wicked, he is greedy, he is treacherous, he is violent, he is revengeful. All the sins that can be named, he possesses all of them. But I am a person full of lust. And the wives, the daughters, the matrons, the maidens or unmarried girls of the whole country, they cannot satisfy my passions. My country will overcome, and my desire. If I want to possess some woman, my desire will overcome all the obstacles. So it is better. That means I am a characterless person. I am a very lusty person. I am a very characterless person. And it is better that Macbeth should continue to rule than a wicked and voluptuous person like me. Macduff. So Macduff still tries to convince Malcolm. So what does he say? Boundless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. It had been the untimely emptying of the happy throne and fall of many kings. But fear not yet to take upon you what is yours. So Macduff says that yes, this licentious behavior is a type of tyranny. And it is responsible for the downfall of many kings. But still, the crown belongs to you, so don't hesitate to claim the crown. Convey your pleasures in a spacious plenty, and yet seem cold. The time you may so hoodwink, we will have willing dames enough. There cannot be that vulture in you to devour so many as will to greatness, dedicate themselves finding it so inclined. So he says, and regarding your passionate nature, your licentious nature, you can enjoy these to your heart's content, and yet you may deceive the people by appearing to be a self-controlled person. So before common people, appear as a self-conscious, self-controlled person, and we will see to it that your licentiousness, your voluptuousness is appeased. That means we will provide you with females who will be willingly offering themselves to you. So in our country there are enough women who would willingly submit themselves to your lusty advances. So you cannot be such a vulture that so many women cannot satisfy you, because they would readily offer themselves to the king. There are many who would readily offer themselves to the king. So you cannot be more voluptuous than this. So that means your passion can be satisfied. We have so many women. With this there grows, now Malcolm further testing. So he says, with this there grows in my most ill-composed affection such a staunchless avarice, that were I king, I could cut off the nobles for their lands, desire his jewels and this other's house, and my more having would be as a sauce to make me hunger more, that I should forge quarrels unjust against the good and loyal, destroying them for wealth. So first he talks about his voluptuousness or licentiousness or characterlessness, and now he talks about his greed. So he says, in addition to my wicked nature, I am a very greedy person. My greed is as if insatiable, it cannot be satisfied. So I would kill the noblemen to get possession of their lands. I would like to possess one man's treasure and another man's house. And the more I possess, the more my greed would increase. And I would frame wrong charges against the good and faithful people in order to acquire their wealth. So another, first is licentiousness, second is greed. Two vices he has mentioned about himself. This avarice sticks deeper, grows with more pernicious root. This is Macduff saying that summer seeming lust, and it had been the sword of our slain kings. Yet do not fear, Scotland has foisons to fill up your will of your mere own. All these are portable with other graces weighed. So whatever vice he is talking about, Macduff is trying to find a solution to it. So he says this greed is more deep rooted, it is more harmful than your lustful nature. In comparison, lust is short lived as the summer. Lust will be for some years of your life, but greed will be there forever. If you are a greedy person, it will remain with you till your death. So it has been the cause of many unrests, many rebellions against the kings who had been finally murdered. But you don't need to be hesitant. Why? Because Scotland has enough to satisfy your avarice. In addition to your own personal treasures, Scotland has enough to satisfy you. So these vices, they can be tolerated and balanced by good qualities. So if you have good qualities, then these two qualities we can put them under control. But I have none, so I don't have any good qualities. The king becoming graces as justice, verity, temperance, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, lowliness, devotion, patience, courage, fortitude. I have no relish of them. So he names all the virtues that should be in a king, and he says, I have none of them. But abound in the division of each several crime, acting in many ways. Nay, had I power, I should pour the sweet milk of concord into hell, uproar the universal peace, compound all unity on earth. So he is deliberately saying all these against him. But if a person is really like this, he would rather try to hide it than speak it out. So what does he say? He tells, rather he speaks of the kingly graces which a king should have, but he doesn't have any of them, like justice, truth, self-restraint, determination, generosity, persistence, mercy, humility, devotion, patience, courage and strength. I have none of them. Rather, I possess all the wicked qualities. So let me tell you that if I have the power, I would try to banish peace to hell. That means I am not in favor of peace. I would try to banish peace and send it to hell. Destroy the peace of the world and all the unity. I will throw all ties of unity on the earth into confusion. That means I would be happy to create confusion in the world. Macduff, oh Scotland, Scotland. Now he feels I cannot do anything. Malcolm, if such a one be fit to govern, speak. I am as I have spoken. So Malcolm's final words, testing. So he says, if you think such a person is fit to be a king, then tell me, because I am exactly what I have said about myself. Now see how Macduff becomes angry. Fit to govern? No, not to live. So such a man is fit to rule. He is not fit to live only. O nation miserable with an untitled tyrant, bloody sceptred, when shalt thou see thy wholesome days again? Since that the trust issue of thy throne by his own interdiction stands accused, and does blaspheme his breed. Thy royal father was a most sainted king. The queen that bore thee oftener upon her knees than on her feet, died every day she lived. Fare thee well. These evils thou repeatest upon thyself hath banished me from Scotland. O my breast, thy hope ends here. So, Macduff is really a frustrated, disappointed man. And he says, "Oh my Scotland, you are really a miserable nation. You are being ruled by a usurper. So I don't know when you will see your healthy days again, because the heir to the throne, in his own words, stands guilty and slanders his holy father, his parents." And then he tells Malcolm that your holy royal father was a holy man. The queen who gave birth to you, she often spent her time in praying. So kneeling means praying. She spent a greater part of her time on her knees praying to God than in anything else. So let me bid you goodbye. The sins which you have spoken about yourself, they have confirmed my exile from Scotland, because I have no face to go back to Scotland. I'd come here with a mission, but my mission has failed. So, oh my hope, oh my heart, your hope has come to an end. So he had come with a hope that he would take the rightful heir back to Scotland and make him the king. But his hopes have ended, because such a man is not fit to live rather than fit to govern. Now Malcolm opens up. He has tested. "Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples, reconciled my thoughts to thy good truth and honor." So now he says, Macduff, this sadness which you are expressing, and it has been caused by your integrity, and this has removed all suspicions from my heart. I am convinced of your honesty and nobility. Devilish Macbeth, by many of these trains, had sought to win me into his power, and modest wisdom plucks me from over credulous haste. But God above, deal between thee and me. So he says that the wicked Macbeth, he had tried to get control over me by using such tricks. And my wisdom, therefore, which is cautious and keeps me back from believing people immediately. And that is why he was testing Macduff. Why? Because he has experienced Macbeth's wickedness earlier. So let God bind our relationship together. But God above, deal between thee and me. And even now I put myself to thy direction. So Malcolm is young. Macduff is a senior person. So he is now ready to put himself in Macduff's guidance, under Macduff's guidance. "For even now I put myself to thy direction, and unspeak mine own detraction. Here abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself for strangers to my nature." And he says, all the faults and wickedness which I had laid upon myself, they are really lies. They are foreign to my nature. I don't know any of them. I am not a licentious person. I am not a greedy person. And I am not a wicked person. I am not a liar. Nothing. I am yet unknown to women. That means I haven't been intimate with any women up till now. And never was forsworn. Scarcely have coveted what was mine own. At no time broke my faith. Would not betray the devil to his fellow. And delight no less in truth than life. So he says, I have never been dishonest. I have hardly wanted to possess something which was mine. So leave alone the things of other people. I have never coveted what was my own. And I would not even betray the devil to his companions. And I have never told a lie in my life other than this lie which I just spoke before you. This was my first lie. Oh my God, he is a saintly fellow. My first false speaking was this upon myself. So the First time I told a lie was when I spoke about myself. I spoke all false about myself. What I am truly is thine, and my poor country's to command. Whither indeed before thy here approach, old Seward with 10,000 warlike men already at a point was setting forth. Now we'll together, and the chance of goodness be like our warranted quarrel. Why are you silent? So he tells that the lie which he had said was the first one, and now he wants to keep himself at the disposal of Macduff and his country, and says, before you came here, old Seward with 10,000 soldiers in readiness, so was about to start for our country. That means he, along with old Seward is the Earl of Northumberland. So old Seward is his relative, uncle or something. So he had planned to set forth for Scotland along with old Seward and 10,000 soldiers. So now we will go together. We means Macduff and Malcolm. They will proceed together, and may our success equal the justness of our cause. So may the chances of our success be in proportion to the justness of our cause. Yes, their cause is just. He is the legal heir to the throne. Macbeth is nothing but a usurper who has killed King Duncan and usurped the throne. And then he notices that after what he has said, Macduff is silent. So he is asking, why are you silent? Macduff, such welcome and unwelcome things at one. It's hard to reconcile. So he says it's hard to accept unpleasant and pleasant things. Unpleasant when Malcolm spoke about all the wickedness in him, and pleasant when he acknowledges that none of them are true. So he doesn't know how to react to it. Now comes the doctor. Well, more anon. Comes the king forth, I pray you. So then he tells Macduff, we'll talk about it very soon. And then he asks the doctor, so is the king coming? Aye, sir, there are a crew of wretched souls to stay his cure. Their malady convinces the great assay of art. But at his touch, such sanctity hath heaven given his hand, they presently amend. So the king was known as the healer. He had this healing quality in him. So if he touched a person, so I think the modern day Reikis. So if he touched someone, so the person would get healed. So he says, yes, a group of miserable people waiting to be cured by him. So their disease is beyond medical skills, means medicines cannot do anything to them. But God has given him such divinity, such divine power that at his touch they get cured. Malcolm, I thank you, doctor. So the doctor leaves. Macduff, what's the disease he means? It is called the evil. So it is a sort of disease by the name of scrofula. A most miraculous work in this good king, which often since my here remain in England, I have seen him do. So Malcolm has seen the king curing people with his divine touch. How he solicits heaven himself best knows. So he is the person who knows best how he gets this divine power, how he persuades God to help him in curing these people. But strangely visited people, all swollen and ulcerous, pitiful to the eye, the mere despair of surgery he cures. But the king cures the victims having strange diseases, those who are afflicted with swellings, ulcers, that people who see them, they feel sympathy for them, and they cannot be operated also, no surgery can be done on them. He cures, but he cures them. That means beyond medical treatment, but with his healing touch he cures them. hanging a golden stamp about their neck, put on with holy prayers, and it is spoken to the succeeding royalty he leaves, the healing benediction. With this strange virtue he hath heavenly gift of prophecy, and sundry blessings hang about his throne that speak him full of grace. So, what does the king do? He puts a gold coin around the neck of the patients and he chants the holy prayers. And this gift of healing, it is said, will be passed on to his children also, to his descendants also. And this, along with this power, he also has the divine gift of predicting the future. So he is also endowed with other gifts, and naturally it is said that he is a very graceful king. Graceful not in that sense, graceful in the sense he has the grace of God. So this is where I will stop today, because I told you it's a very lengthy scene and you all might get bored. You won't watch even half of it if I go for the full one. So the next part I will do in the next video. The next part will come up, and don't be worried, I will post it or upload it very soon, within 1 or 2 days. So don't be worried about it. So for the time being, yes, Ranjana ma'am will say goodbye. It's quite late at night. So if you are interested in more detailed explanations, in that case you can join my online coaching, where you can dispel your doubts. Personally, I have those classes going on, so it's up to you. So the WhatsApp number or my Gmail ID I'll provide in this video at the end. So the choice is yours.